So welcome everyone. Thanks for coming. I know it's been a hard week, and you're still here. So how much are you liking DrupalCamp for now? Yeah, can hear you. Yeah, glad you are liking it. So I'm going to talk about how to make your entities in Drupal 8 translatable and your fields, and also your configuration. My name is Cristian López, on Drupal.org and on the internets. I'm Peñasquito, and I work for Lingotech. And I've been involved in Drupal 8 for 4 years. It's been a long cycle, but finally it's there. And mostly on the multilingual initiative for Drupal 8. So what we are going to talk about is how to make your content entities translatable, how to make your fields translatable, how this, as an example, I will show how the new APIs make it possible to integrate your custom entities and your custom fields with external modules like Lingotech. And I will talk also about what do you need to do for translating your configuration. So how many of you have created your custom data storage with Drupal 7? Hands up. And how many of you have made it in a multilingual friendly way? Not that many. So if you remember from Drupal 7, making a site multilingual was not as easy as we may want to. And there are a lot of modules that are required for translating everything. Depending on which country modules are you using, you may need to use another country module that translates that. And there was a multilingual API, but it was like a very low level. So it was really hard to make something multilingual. And when you are translating your content or your structures, it was really hard to do because you had different options and you have to pick one of them. And sometimes it's the right one for some use case, but it's not the best one for another use case. So it's really risky to make a bad decision there. So Drupal 8 this has improved a lot thanks to the contribution of a lot of people. So thank you for that. And in Drupal 8, the multilingual experience is based on 4 pillars. So you have the language module, which provides the option to assign language to your data. And it's not only about multilingual. You can have a monolingual site and you still want to track in which language this data is. The interface translation module, which provides the ability to translate your interface, your user strings. And it has improved a lot in terms of usability. And in Drupal 7, this was really coupled with the language one, and now you have like 2 different modules. So you may want to have different languages, but maybe you don't want to translate your interface. You only want to have data on a different language and track that. Then you have the content translation module. From Drupal 7, you will remember that we had 2 different options. You had the core node-based translation, which duplicates your content. So if you have a node in 2 languages, you end up with 2 nodes. And you had in Contrib the entity translation module that allowed you to have the same data in the same node, but you have to pick between the 2 options, and in some cases one is better than the other. And You can even mix them on your site, so it can be quite confusing. And you have also the config translation module, which is something relatively new that allows you to translate your configuration. So back to, we are going to see code in this session, live coding, so wish me luck. And so the first thing we are going to do is see how you can make your content entities translatable, how easy it is. So for the example, I have like a slider entity, which makes nothing, but is an entity that stores something. And how many of you have already built something with Drupal 8? How many of you have been contributing to Drupal 8 in some way? Okay, so, and how many of you have been in sessions about Drupal 8? We've been talking about Drupal 8 like for 4 Drupal camps already, so this is the really shiny new thing, but it's been a lot of time talking about it. So you know what the entity API is and how it works? Okay, so anyway, I will make a quick review of that. So in Drupal 8, we have object-oriented code. So for creating an entity, you have to create one class in a convention-based folder namespace. And you have to, if you are creating a content entity, you can extend from content entity base, which is a class that provides the structure of your class. And there you have annotations. In the annotations, you add metadata about your entity, like you assign an ID, a label, you describe how this entity may be saved. Like we have here the base table, and this is the table name where this will be stored in the database. You say which entity keys they have. You can relate to different classes that provide services that provides functionality to your entity, like So in Drupal 7, we have the .info file, which describes the metadata of your module. Now it's a YAML file, which is another structure format that it's really used in Symfony, and we are taking things from outside now. And here we have like the name of the module. We say that this is a module and the version we are working with. We can also add the dependencies, but we don't have any for now. Then you have another YAMLs there, like the menus. So instead of having the huge menu, now you have a list of your route of your menu items. This is not the same that routing, which was really coupled together in Drupal 7. Now it's something different, or its separation is better. And what we say here is like this is a menu item, the title, and which route it's going to use, which is a name. And then you have a routing YAML file, which defines it uses this route name. It says the path that the user will see or will use for accessing it. And you can attribute there if you are using a controller or form or the title of this page and the permissions and other metadata there. So you will have a source folder where you put your namespaces and your classes. And in the case of entities, you are going to have an entity namespace, and there you define your class as I've shown before. So now we have our site installed. Thank you, Kathy. So if I go to my structure here, well, I have it here in a blog. So I have a list of my entities, which I have none yet because I just installed, and I can go to the form for creating a new one, and there I have the name and the description, the properties I added to the entity. So I enable the content translation module. So for translating it, I have to go to my content translation settings. And here, I cannot find my entity. Why? Because I didn't say that this is something that it's translatable. So for translating it, it's as easy as adding this here. Sorry. So you only have to do this, and it should work. Now we go home. Not really. So if we clear our cache, it failed. Unexpected, right? Why? Is the demo effect? No, it's not. So if we see our beautiful error message, it says logic exception, the custom slider entity type cannot be translatable. I just added that annotation, but it's not enough because it doesn't define a translatable lang code field. So we created our properties there, but we didn't say that we have a language. So how are we storing in which language we are creating our entities? So we need to create one, and we are using the most used pattern in programming, which is copy-paste. I'm sure you've seen this before. So we are going to a core entity. So when you are doing Drupal 8 Word or whatever, it's like usually the best documentation is the code that already works. So you go to Drupal core and find something that does something that is similar to what you are doing, and you look for something to copy-paste in the right place. So there I said that we have the base field definitions where we define our fields. And there you have a lang code here. So yes, you know how it works. And so I have copied this here, and I go to my property, and I save it here. Now I have a field, a new property there. Save, clear cache again. Ooh, another one. So this is how you do Drupal 8 development. You just copy-paste code and in the right place and see the failures there. Huh? Yeah, it took 4 years because we don't know what we're doing. So now it says the custom slider entity type cannot be translatable as it does not define a translatable lang code field. Sorry? I didn't get that. Oh, yeah. Wait for it. So I've created a new field, and it failed. The thing is that in Drupal 8 we have like the source code, and we are because your source code can be pulled from Git or whatever, or you are doing change, and so we have a way to explicitly say that we are changing our data because we are storing that in the database too. So we have like the definition of an entity in the code and the definition that Drupal knows about. So there is a way for synchronizing those, and you can use the drush entity update command for that. No, entity. No, it's update entities or. Okay, so looks like this error is not as useful as it should be. But I know that the thing is that you have to add this to the entity keys. Maybe we found a bug here. So if I clear the cache now, cross fingers, now it worked. So if I refresh this, I have my custom slider here. So I can now say how I want to translate it or not. So the thing is that here we have, we can assign the default language we want to use for new created entities, and we can say if we want to show the language selector there or not. I want to show it. And then if I now go to my form, I can select the language I want to use. So that's something. Let's create one. Oh, it's broken. So now, when you have this kind of errors, what do you usually do? You go to the recent log message, and you find here there is not a column lang code. This is because I didn't synchronize the source code with the database, so I need to run the command again. The eats. And now it says, okay, I've detected that there are some updates pending. The type needs to be updated because we have created a new entity key here. It says that there is a new field, which is the language, and needs to be installed. And there's another thing, which is the default translation field. That it's something that content translation adds because we say that we want to assign a language here. So if I say yes, This will create the columns in the database. So going back to my form, I resubmit the form, and now I created it. So now I have my entity here with its fields. So far, so good. Any questions for now? No, awesome. So let's go back to our configuration, content, language, and translation. And here we have, we want to make this translatable, but it's not possible. Why? Because we don't have nothing translatable there. Why? Because we are saying that we want to translate the entity, but we didn't say which fields we want to translate or which properties are translatable. So, yeah, sure, sorry. So you just go to your to your field definitions and say translatable true. Easy. We say this for the name and the description. We have to clear our cache again. There's nothing to install now. So now, because I have translatable fields, I can say that this is translatable, and I can customize which fields I want to translate or not. So now I can say that for translating my entity, I want to translate those fields. And if I go now to my content here, here I should have the, wait. I cannot translate because I didn't add any language here. So let's add a new language, Spanish, add language. That's it. Back to my site, and now I go to my list, and here I have the translate button. I can add a new translation in Spanish, and oh, it failed. Why? So there's an issue here. You didn't define a default form class. So in our entity definition, we are saying which form are we using for creating, editing, or deleting our data, and we use there some keys like add, edit, delete, and we map it with a form. So the content translation module is creating a form for you, but as a convention, we are trying to use a form called default, but we didn't define it, so let's just use this one and clear our cache. So going back, it's here right now. Yeah, here we have the translate tab, and we can try now to add the translation. And save, and now it works. So if I go to my translate tab, now I have my Spanish translation. So we are already translating our entities. Yay! Was it that hard? So there are some things that you should know. So when you are in development, it's easy to make this error-based development process. But if you already have content, you have a production site, and you didn't think about translating it, and at some point you want to translate it, you cannot do this kind of change. It's fun, right? You cannot do that. you cannot you cannot do this kind of change in your data, because actually what we are doing under the hood is changing the structure of our tables. So Drupal cannot assume how you want to alter your data, because you are adding new properties. So you need to program, to code yourself this kind of upgrades. And for that, there is a change record that I'm not going to go very deep into it, but you have you have some helper API, you have some API there for installing your entities and updating them and moving your data around. And there are some examples already in core, like the node update 8003. So in case you have a development site, you should look at this and make an upgrade. If you are doing this in development, you can just reinstall your site in most cases, and that's it. This error is gone now. So next thing, fields. I'm going to remove this. And I'm going to go to fields. So we are doing the same now. We have a basic field here. Wait for it. So in Drupal 8, your fields are plugins. Plugins are some kind of classes that are automatically discovered, and they expand your site. And they are used almost everywhere in Drupal 8, and one of the things that you use for that, one of the places where it's used is for defining your new fields, your new formatters, and your new field widgets. So there we have a slide item, which will be an image, and you want to add some. What we are doing here is we are extending the image field. So we want to have the same data that an image has, but we want to have also the text of the slide itself. So we have created we have extended for the image item, and in this case, we also have a annotation here that defines the field type, and you say the ID of this field type, and you can assign a category there. So when you are adding new fields to your entities, you see it there, and you can group them and finding them more easily. And you define the default widget and the default formatter, which actually they are another kind of plugins in themselves, and you implement some methods, and that's it. So in this case, we have the slide, and we are adding the slide text. So I'm going to clear my cache, so Drupal detects that I added a field. And now I'm going to my entity. It's here, structure, slide there, settings. And here I have my field. So I have my entity, and I want to add a new field here. And it's going to be the slide item. And I will say slides. And my slider will have several slides. And that's it. And I'm going to say that users may translate this field, because we have the text of the slider, we may want to translate it. So as we are extending from, so every field is translatable by default. And we just save the slide, and we can translate it. So if we go to configuration now, content language translation, And we may mark the article translatable. So have you already seen the Drupal 8 interface for configuring translation before, like this interface? So there's something really cool that if you have fields like image that has multiple properties, you may want to translate some of them, but not all of them. Like if you have an article in English and Spanish which has a photo on it, and the photo has no text, you don't really want to duplicate the file. So you can say that your image, which has a file, an alternative text, and a title, you only want to translate the alternative text and the title, and the file will be reused. So in our own field, we want to have that too, but we don't have it here. How can we do that? Magic. So it's the same than before. We only have to define that in the annotation, and it's with a property which is called column groups, and then you have your file, which has its own columns, which is the target ID, the ID of the file. The file is an entity itself, the width of the image, and the height. And there you can say which attributes will be translatable by default. So you say that the alternative text is translatable, you say that the title is translatable, and you say that the slide text is translatable. And that's it. If you clear your cache now, and you refresh this interface, you have here the you can configure the translatability of your sub-properties of field in your entity. And by default, you have what you already said. So here you can really customize how you are translating your fields for a given entity. And that's great. Any doubts so far? No? Cool. So now you can translate your fields. Okay, let's show the demo. So I have here, I have my entity here that I already translated. I'm going to edit the original translation. I'm going to add a new file. I'm going to add only one slide. So now my field is rendering there, Drupal. And if I go to translate and edit Spanish translation, I should have here the field. Oh no, wait for it. I marked it, I think. No. Okay, so the field should be, oh, the problem is that I didn't publish the original entity. I don't know why. Okay, demo effect, now it's for real. So here we should have our image. I don't know why it's not there, and we only translate the fields that we mark as translatable. Yeah.
Is it because you created that piece of content before you set the settings that you made it?
I think so.
You don't think so?
I think so. But I saved this. Oh wait, yeah. So maybe. No, the field didn't change. Yeah, so I'm creating a new one.
The slider, like the field itself, translatable, and then it allows you to add new fields in each language.
All right, because it's a multi-valued one. So I think, yeah.
It allows you to do, like, you know, to uncheck the main one and just leave the subfields or something like that. That's how it works for paragraphs.
Yeah, but paragraphs is special, I think. No, you need to have this. I think the problem is that it's multi-valued. Okay, let's assume it works. I think the problem is what Kathy said, that it was created before assigning the translatability options. So next thing is config translation. So our slider will have next and previous buttons, and we want to configure which string we want to use here. So now what I'm going to do is enable the config translation module, which I didn't yet. And if I go to if I refresh this, if I go to configuration, config translation, I have. Okay, so I cannot find here my settings. Why? Because I need to say, I need to add an schema. So an schema says how, or it's a YAML file which defines how our configuration will look like, or configuration can be imported in YAML too, as the rest of is the format that it's used everywhere. And here we have two strings, which actually will be labels and will be translatable. So we need to somehow define that. And wait for it. Oh, wait. So I'm going to skip this a bit. So your schema must be in your config folder, in a schema folder, and there you define a schema YAML file. And here you have your object, your config object, and you say the attribute you have, and you say the type of them. So we have something that it's called typed data API, which defines which kind of attributes we can have there. And if we say text, we know that text is translatable. So now we know how to translate our configuration, but we also need another thing, which is where do we want to have the interface for translating it. And for that, there is a config translation YAML file, and we say that our settings object needs to be translated in this route, which is the route of the form that we are using for editing this, and we attribute and we use the name of the config object. So now, if I clear my cache, it's going to be there. And we have a button for translating it. Go to Spanish. Now I can translate here my configuration, and if I have these labels shown in on my slider, and I visit a slider in Spanish, these labels will be in Spanish. What do you think about it? It's hard to do, it's easy? Looks easier than Drupal 7, right? A bit. So next thing, I'm going to be really quick. So when we had so many options for translating your data in Drupal 7, now in Drupal 8 it's like we have like a standardized APIs. So it's really easy to integrate external modules, and when you create your own entities or your own fields, it will work out of the box most of the times. So I wanted to show a small demo of how that works, but you have to believe me because we are running out of time and we have to go for the photo. So if you have any questions or you want me to show that demo, please find me around the camp. And if you have any questions, it's the right moment for that. It's so easy that you don't have questions.
If nobody has a question, I would have a question.
You have a question.
If you want to show your demo, you can do that too. But I have a question about you can translate different parts of a field, like the alt field and the title field. How is that saved in the database? Do you need now another table for that, or is that?
So when you say that so in your field items, wait for it. We can show it. So when you add a field to your entity, it will know that every field will have a language column. So when you create that field, it will be saved. It will be saved a row with that column attribute on it. So let me select from. So you have a long code column. So when you translate it, it will create another row with the other language.
Okay. So I understand that that when you make, for example, an image field translatable, then the fact that the file itself is not translatable is just an UI thing.
Yeah.
Because it is translatable in the data structure.
Yeah.
Okay. Other questions? No. I think we would have time for the demo because it's
Okay.
It's 45, so we have 5 minutes for the demo.
So I'm going to enable the Lingotech module here. Wait. Boom. Wait. ¿Qué? So the Lingotech module allows you to use a cloud service for translating your content. So you can configure which data you want to upload. And you say here, 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 save. So as you saw, I can say the same, like in the content translation settings, I have the sub properties too, so I can configure in that I have that flexibility too. And now if I go here, so I'm going to enable, so this will be faster. So here I can say, I can see what is going to be uploaded to this service. And this is uploaded in a JSON file, and as you can see here, I didn't need to do anything special on my field, but it already knows which attributes you need to upload based on without having to integrate the Lingotech module or any other modules with the type of field I'm creating. So anything that works with any field, it will be probably, or in most cases, will work out of the box with your own fields without needing to do anything special. And that's super cool. So that was it. Any more questions, or let's take a photo and have lunch?